All right, you there?
Yep.
Okay, I'll start us out. This is John Shrek McPhee, the sheriff of Baghdad. This is Calls from the Road, another podcast. And today we are going to talk about the capture of these Florida-based Green Berets that got rolled up in Venezuela. I'm talking to my friend Jason. I'm not going to say where he works, right? Jason, how you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So, look, I'll just come out with it. You texted me this morning, like, did you see this? I actually seen it last night, and I just kind of skimmed it, looked at it, giggled a little bit, went to bed, right? And then you hit me this morning, and then, I figured we need to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Because, man, the price on Maduro's head, right? How do you say it? Maduro, whoever the guy is, the president, the dictator. Maduro, yeah. There's a price on his head. And guys are going to go try to fucking claim that money. First off, I love it. I think it's capitalism at its finest. But I think it has holes. And I think this is and some of it makes me laugh. And I would just say up front, the best thing that could happen here is they murder these guys and we move on, right? That's the best thing that could happen. However, that's not going to happen. So what are your thoughts on these Florida-based ex-Green Berets go.
Yeah, the first thing somebody sent me a link to it, and I opened it up this morning, and I was like, holy shit, it was sort of unbelievable, And then when I looked online, and I saw that there's the president of Venezuela with their passports, their Texas driver's license. He's reading literally their addresses on their driver's license in Spanish and everything. Yeah. And there was, I forget how many were killed. No Americans, but there was some Colombians with them, or some former Venezuelan army guys, defectors, whatever, dissenters. Yeah. That were killed, and they landed at this fishing village, and there they are, cuffed, prone in the street. And I was like, oh my God. That's when I sent it to you. I was like, yeah, what? This has to be on the podcast. What a crazy fucking story, because who in their right mind would do some shit like that?
Oh, man. Hey, look.
And it said that some fishing villagers caught them. Yeah. Yeah. What kind of operation was that?
So, no, look, these guys are, ex-Green Beret veterans, right? I get it. I mean, are they Green Berets? Were they SEALs? Is this a generic term? You know what I mean? Were they ex-Rangers? A lot of times, I think the Green Beret thing is a generic term for a special operations guy of some type, right? But let's just assume they're real Green Berets, right? This is truly the Green Beret mission, right? Is link up with indigenous forces and overthrow the government. So if these guys are real Green Berets, this is kind of what they were trained to do in the Q course, right? Having said that, these guys know nothing about this because they served in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they don't know fuck all about the dangers of really what would be considered, UW, unconventional warfare in a fucking hostile environment against a fucking dictator that has an army, navy, air force, fucking Marines, secret police. Who the fuck knows what else this guy's got to fucking hold on to control?
He's got it all.
He's got it all, right? So I kind of giggle in the fact that this is truly the SF mission. Now, I did read that they linked up with some former Venezuelan general, you know what I mean, that they were...
in Colombia.
Yeah, they were in Colombia. They were supposed to get some gun shipments. These gun shipments were confiscated from Colombia, and then they were WhatsApping the fucking locals to incite violence against, Maduro. And from what I read, and there could be more to it, because this is just kind of popping up today, but there was about 60 of them that got rolled up. Right.
Yep.
So some probably died. 2 were Americans. You know what I mean? And I would say this is like that dude putting your driver's license on the internet, like, yo, you got rolled up, son. You know what I mean? Like,
by some fishermen. So I'm looking at a site online where I kind of looked at it this morning. So they just updated it, right? So I'll read some of this to you.
Hey, what site are you at? In case someone wants to go.
It's dailymail.co.uk. It's a British site. They normally have, they just throw anything up there, right? So take it with a grain of salt. But it says it's been updated, right? So it says that the ringleader, the guy that owns the business in Florida, Jordan Goudreau, he claimed responsibility. He's a former associate of Keith Schiller, Donald Trump's bodyguard. Schiller accompanied Goudreau to a meeting last May to discuss security with representatives of the other guy that's trying to take power. It says a shadowy group of U.S. billionaires led by Rowan Kraft promised support for the private group. Also met with both of them. And this Kraft person allegedly lured prospective donors with promise of preferential access to negotiate deals in the energy and mining sectors. If this worked, yeah. So who knows if that's true? More will come out, as time passes. But how bad a day are those guys having right now?
I would imagine death by junta, which is being anally raped to death, I think, would be more pleasant than what these guys are going to go through.
And, and they're not going to kill them. They're going to hold them because we just, the government just put sanctions on them, right? And they've off all their oil and things like that, right. something like that. So now they've got a bargaining chip, right? And so now they're kind of back in the catbird seat because, here's a question for you. What do you think our government will do?
I mean, okay. So first and foremost, there's a couple things that probably could have happened here. Are they sponsored by the government, or are they just well-funded? And, are they well-funded and at the same time just going after the money? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, right, is if they are just going after the money, inciting violence against a dictator, right? Like one of the guys, the Goudreau guy, claimed that he wasn't breaking any laws, right? Well, yeah, that may be true, but you think that dictator gives a fuck about the law? Like, you're going after a dictator, right? So I think what ends up happening is, if these guys are just looking for the money, right, these guys fucked up big time, right? If they are backed by the government, right, if this was a government sanction, like, these guys were the cutouts for, a government agency that would sponsor this, if that was true, right, then, this could end up sprawling into a couple different things. Is this the catalyst? Is this, we talked about this earlier, is this the bait and switch? Like, oh, they got American hostages. Now we need to spend, we need to send guys in. Is this the, and I would say this is every major conflict has been truly under a false flag like premise, right? Vietnam, gunboats, never fucking happened, started Vietnam. Iraq, the smoking gun, you know what I mean? Like, yes. All those premises were borderline false, you know what I mean? Not exactly true, but, so what we have here is what I would think is the, the catalyst for something much bigger if this is a government-sponsored thing. And if you look through the pictures, like, first off, Luke Denman, I am looking at, on the UK mail that you just said to look at, I am looking at a December 2011 E6 cat card. You're going to invade a fucking country and kill the fucking dictator for money or for the government, whatever, and you still have your Army Uniform Services expired in December 11th, 2011 fucking cat card in your wallet.
That is well,
right?
Maybe some people get caught for a reason, because they're not very smart. I don't know.
Yeah, and the equipment, right?
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, the pictures of the equipment, right? But look, in one of the pictures where they got all the IDs laid out on the table, right? Or it's some radios. Look on the corner. The guy's got his Choose VA fucking ID card. He brought his VA fucking card. You think you're going to the VA in fucking Venezuela?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw that. So much for, look at that Visa card up there with the, red, white, and blue on it. I don't think Visa works in Venezuela. There's a hard drive up there. And then, the drum magazine.
Look, under the rainbow gay pride looking,
right.
Under that, you see a USAA card. Look, blue and red, USAA card. So you are going to, take out a dictator. You got your VA card. You got your Silver Corp training badges on you. Like, look, if this was a government sanctioned op, right, just looking at that stuff, I would say someone hung you out the fucking dry. Period. End of discussion. If they didn't even make you clean out your wallet, you know what I mean?
Bait and switch.
Totally, right? Bait and switch. So, okay, back to the equipment, right? Looking at the picture of the equipment. We got an M4 in the box. I don't even know what kind of M4 that is. It's got some hokey logo. I don't know. It's hard to read. It's a bad picture. But they got a couple drums. They got some radios, some phones.
Hey, wait. Look at the tip of the M4. What color is it?
It's fucking orange. That's a plastic gun. It's a training gun.
There you go.
It ain't even a real gun. Good catch, man. Good catch. Hey, what do you think that's? You think that's a CB next to that Palm Pilot? Garmin Rhino.
So there's next to that Kindle. That's a Kindle. That's an Amazon Kindle, like an e-read book reader, right? So to the right, that's GPS, Motorola radio, GPS, radio, PMag, drum magazines. There's 2 Motorola radios in that little bag. There's probably a VHF Marine radio that, they're on the left. And then, a plastic gun. Like, I bet that's an airsoft gun. Like, there's no way that's a real gun with an orange tip.
I can tell you this is, I got one of those in my garage. Exactly one of those in my garage. It's airsoft.
Yeah, I do too. I got one right here.
Yeah.
It's got an orange tip on it.
Yeah, totally right.
Why would you go to Venezuela to capture or kill the socialist dictator with an airsoft gun? This is getting weird.
Well, okay, check this out. You're an ex-Green Beret and you get busted by fucking fishermen.
Well, now you know why, because they only had airsoft guns.
And
right?
PBS 14, like, you're so well funded, right, to get this $15 million. You couldn't at least get dual tube shit, and you're on a boat, so I would want the waterproof, right, the SEAL shit. So even the night vision is poor, man. Yeah, I mean, like, this whole thing is like such a shock. I'm looking at the picture where they're all laid out. They're all cuffed, they're all laid out on the pavement. You know what I mean? Like, this whole thing, like, I don't know, man, like.
Well, the word amateur doesn't even begin to cover
That's why I'm That's why, like, I don't think we can rule out the bait and switch, right? Like, seriously, I don't think you can rule that out, only because, look, okay, so these guys are ex-Green Berets, right? They link up with let's just assume some of this is true, right? They link up with let's say the ex-Venezuelan general who says, he can take over the country. Okay, right? Like, that in itself doesn't sound too bad. But I'll tell you what's wrong with this equation that these Green Berets will never fucking understand is, I call it the soft enemy concept. These guys have been fighting in Afghanistan, no real formidable enemy. You know what I mean? Like, even the times they get overrun, individually, these guys aren't better soldiers. They have more bodies, and they were more clever than you, right? So I think what happens, and I've talked about this before, I call it the soft enemy concept, and this is why there's so much fucking bad training in the world, and this is why I think these special forces guys, one guy at a time, are ruining training for combat veterans and making police look like they know what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
the soft enemy concept, I could walk into a house naked and backwards, and I fucking shoot the bad guy, and it worked once. I should teach that to everybody, right? And this is my premise of the soft enemy concept. So these guys are like, well, I've been in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know what I mean? Fucking Venezuela, this would be a fucking cakewalk. Having no real clue, right, what the fucking actual danger is of fucking with a dictator who has secret police and he's been in there so long, right, and he's so powerful that we put a bounty on his head. But being in there so long and being so powerful and the people not liking you means this motherfucker's got secret police everywhere, and if you value your life, you fucking turn these motherfuckers in.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, look at North Korea. I think it's every person in North Korea every week, from everybody under the dear leader down. Every week you have to write down what you did, sins you committed against the regime, right? And you also have to tell on somebody else. So what a great way to keep everybody under control.
Yeah, totally, man.
And no doubt that's what they do here. I'm looking at that picture of these guys standing there, right? And at least they had the presence of mind to put masks on them so they couldn't give them the coronavirus, right?
That's the first thing I noticed is they're masking those fuckers up. I mean, hey, if this was a bait and switch to spread some fucking disease to these motherfuckers, genius.
You ain't got enough money to pay me to go be the bait. That's because they're probably not having a good time right now.
No, not at all, man. No, not at all.
And imagine too, like if you're the U.S. government and you've got all this other stuff going on, and now it's like, shit, we have to deal with this. But they have to do something. I mean, the State Department's going to have to try to do something. I mean,
I agree, but I would also say this is like, and just hear me out on this, man. I think that right now, like if this would have happened a month ago, Trump could fucking send, troops to Venezuela to fucking go oust that guy, and it wouldn't get any press over the coronavirus. So I also think like timing of this could happen, be done, and there's no fucking press involved because the press is trying to get you to fucking stay home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, but I mean, do you agree that, our government will even though they'll acknowledge, right, hey, we didn't have anything to do with this. Let's just say these guys went on their own, which it kind of looks that way, right? They had some private backers and people that were promised, mineral rights. So Venezuela is a very, very oil-rich country. It's one of the largest producers in the world. The problem is that their crude oil is, for lack of a better term, it's very thick. It's not like ours. So they actually have to ship their oil to the United States to be refined. So like Citgo gas stations That's the Venezuela National Oil Company, and they have a big Citgo plant. They have a couple of them in Texas, and so all their oil gets shipped here, right? Because they don't have the know-how or the ability to process it. So it kind of sounds like, and I'm sure there was some backroom deals of, hey, we'll kick this guy out, we'll get him, and then you give us some money, and you'll get some of the rewards, because there's a lot of crude oil there, a lot of mineral.
Yeah. Well, look, man, yeah. Well, Venezuela was the fourth, the richest country in South America or something like that for years because of that. So there's a lot of money to be had there. And, oh, how strange, we're having trouble somewhere that has oil and could have money.
Well, yeah, they used to be the richest, one of the wealthiest oil producers in the world, and they still are. The problem is once socialism took over, the only person that benefited was, whoever was in charge. I don't remember the guy's name that was before this guy. I
don't remember either.
Yeah, anyway, so people there are eating out of trash cans, and his daughter is worth $6 billion or something. They do what everybody else does, especially like these Western African nations where some guy gets in power, they got gold, diamonds, oil, whatever, and they get richer and everybody else still starves. They're no different. But do you think either way, whether it was government sanctioned or not? I don't think it was. I think these are just a bunch of meatheads that had some grandiose idea of getting rich. But do you think the government will actually try to do anything, or will they just leave them there?
If these guys took it upon themselves because they know the president's bodyguard, or you know what I mean, they have rich people behind them, like they're gonna rot in jail. If this was a government sanctioned thing, they could be spinning up the unit right now for these guys. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the unit would love to go down there and get these guys. But the truth is even if this was sponsored or not, right? Is it worth the juice? Meaning, if the unit goes down there, saves these fucking guys, what second, third order effects is that going to have? And is it fucking worth it? Or could these two guys just fucking sit in jail? This is the problem, with contracting in general, right? Because you're contracting for the U.S. government, and you might get promised a ton of shit on the backside, but you actually have to pull off the mission. And how many of these missions are fucked? Like this whole thing is fucked.
Yeah. No. Well, the other thing too, if you're contracting for the government, you're operating under the umbrella of the king, right? I would assume that if this probably more than anybody, if something goes awry and you need to be rescued because you were operating under the auspices of the king, that the king will at least try to come get you. But if you did this on your own, then do we even should we risk anybody's life and limb to go get you?
Fuck no.
Well, okay, so here's a question. How does this differ from the Doctors Without Borders that go to these war zones where, and they ended up getting caught, and we always go get them?
Well, these guys aren't, so essentially, right, these guys are committing an act of terrorism against the sitting government of Venezuela, right? I think the Doctors Without Borders, right, are going around the world trying to help sick people, right? And I think, can the Doctors Without Borders get murdered? Yeah. Should we go get them? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like, and let's just be honest, man. Like, and the whole fucking coronavirus shit, has got me thinking about this a lot. But like, look, there's only one guarantee for everyone on this fucking planet. Your only guarantee is you're gonna fucking die. Someday you're gonna fucking die. End of discussion, right? And in this modern world we live in where everybody lives and no one should be sick and no one should die, and like, are you fucking kidding me? How unrealistic is that? You know what I mean? Because everyone's going to die of one thing or another one day. It's your only guarantee more than any other guarantee in your life. So, having said that, these Doctors Without Borders go into some fucked up country, to try to help the sick. The consequences.
Or even those reporters, right? How many of those reporters went to Syria?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Early on, and Jihadi John or whatever, cut a couple heads off, and some of those guys got kidnapped. It's happened in Somalia.
Yeah, just because, look, and I think this has to do with, this is truly like our first world problems issue is, well, here, we can talk to them. We can reason with them. You know what I mean? And the truth is like life is less valuable in the rest of the world. Your life don't equate to shit to someone in these little fucked up countries, right? So, I don't think we should be going after these guys. I don't think we should spend one military asset to go get these guys. Now, if I was in a squadron right now and this intel came across and, would I be like, fuck, let's go get these guys because it's something to do and it could be exciting? Hell yeah, I'm in, right? But, strategically, like, if these guys are just on their own trying to collect the $15 million, linking up with the locals, you know what I mean? That's fine. And then look, even one of those guys even said in one of the articles I read, he even said, like, one of these type plans is going to get that guy out of power.
Yeah. At some point, yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So, I don't disagree that, this strategy works. I don't even disagree with it as conceptually of UW, and this is the basis of every training for every Green Beret. I just think this was, executed poorly. Right?
Yeah, that's an understatement. I can tell you how you're not going to do it with airsoft guns. That's guaranteed. You are not doing any of this with airsoft guns. Would this be, if they were to do something in Venezuela, would it sort of be akin to Panama? They have a military, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same region, part of the earth.
Well, I'm going to say yes to that because I think Trump designated this guy as a narco trafficker, which is the model of Panama because Manuel Noriega was a narco trafficker.
Yeah. This guy really isn't much different, right? I mean, it's a socialist society, so. but it's not. I mean, I don't think Noriega was, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of similarities. For sure. I mean, right? Kurt Muse, of course, he was an employee, but, right? Yeah. They snagged him up and some other guys, and now we got the airsoft rifle crew there, and there are some parallels,
I would say there's a lot of parallels to Panama. However, think about how much shit had to go down before Panama actually happened. Like, They also killed American soldiers on the streets in Panama. I think they fragged, what was it, Sonny's? I don't remember what that bar was we used to go party at, but they drove by and fragged it, which was an American soldier hangout, right? So I think there was an escalation. But I do think is like, look, it's a straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, I don't know if we're going to invade Venezuela or not. You know what I mean? And I would say this. With all our fucking current strategies and the way we handled Afghanistan and Iraq, look, if we're going in to invade these countries, we should fucking keep that shit. We should build a mega base and a quarter of our army is parked in your fucking doorstep at all times. That would have fucking really kept ISIS at bay if we would have done that in Iraq. If we don't play for keeps, right? Oh, okay, we get rid of Maduro, then what in Venezuela? Like, what's the fucking plan? You know what I mean? So I think we really, Yeah.
You know,
I
the
don't
other
know.
thing,
I don't
the
know.
other thing the other thing we didn't talk about is he's best friends with the Iranians, and they have a huge presence in Venezuela. There are flights from Iran every day, and the Revolutionary Guard guys are, you know, that's all open source stuff. They're huge there.
Yeah.
That's kind of a hub for them to operate out of, and they do, you know, they're in the drug game to generate. They'll do anything to generate money for the regime because there's so many sanctions against them, but they get around them. They still operate just like North Korea.
Yeah, well, I think they're still running off of Obama cash, aren't they?
yeah. He gave them enough to last a while. I guarantee you that. That's man. That's. What do you think about the Kim Jong-un deal that you know last week? They were saying, oh, he's dead, and you know, and it just goes to show like how wrong. What is it you always say? Don't believe the.
Never believe the first reports. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah.
I know.
People were texting me, oh, he's dead. He's dead. I'm like, hey, hang on a second. Like, you don't know if he's dead or not. I mean, yeah, I wish he was dead, but
yeah,
you don't know. You know, and it turns out he's not dead.
Yeah, the news also said millions of people are going to die from coronavirus.
Exactly. Yeah.
The World Health Organization said don't wear a mask. It doesn't help. Yeah,
you know, that guy's the Chinese put him in that spot, and I think he's Ethiopian. They've benefited hugely from Chinese infrastructure and things. So he's absolutely a puppet for them and a mouthpiece. I think the president did right by saying, well, we're not giving the World Health Organization any more money. You know, there's no telling how much money we give to organizations like that we as a taxpayer benefit zero from. I hate to read things where, you know, China we owe them $1 trillion for, I don't know, something. And, you know, they hold some of our debt. They're buying up some of our debt. And I didn't make that choice. You didn't make that choice. You know, I don't want anything from there. And I damn sure don't want them holding any of our debt or being able to hold anything over our heads. And the last 3 viruses that have impacted the world have came from there. And it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that that's a little more than a trend. Yeah, I hope they deal with them swiftly. I don't know what they'll do. In my opinion, something should be done,
though. Well, hopefully the whole coronavirus thing showed our fucking political elite class that having everything made in China ain't a good idea.
Nope.
And if we just took away that, and if we just took away, they're not friends. Like, they might come over for dinner, but you're not babysitting my kids. You know what I mean? Like, we could be friends. You're still not watching my fucking kids, right? Like, I think if they took that away from this coronavirus thing about China, I think we'd be better off.
Well, and the other thing, too, is they have been committing, they are committing, and they're going to continue to commit the largest corporate espionage operation this world has ever seen, right? You have a blueprint for something, they're going to get it. They're really good at copying things. They're not good at making it exact. And so the fact that we put up with that as a nation, granted, I don't know what could be done, but it's, you know, just the intellectual property rights we lose every year. It's in the billions. You know, and just think if you invented something and they stole it. What recourse do you have? Nothing.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah. You have nothing, right? And I don't know. I've had about enough of them, but obviously there's nothing I can do about it. But the coronavirus thing, man, I don't watch the news anymore. You know, you look at any website, left-leaning, right-leaning, whatever. It's death and destruction and the end of the fucking world. And it's doom and gloom 24/7. And I turned it off because, you know, it's not doom and gloom and it's not the end of the world. And we're not going to run out of beef or pork or chicken or toilet paper or bottled fucking water or whatever. You know, I mean, I don't want to even see that shit. Because it affects people, you know, if that's all you ever hear. If I told you all day long, you don't look good or you feel sick, you don't look good, you know, by the end of the day, you'd fucking be sick, you know, you'd feel bad.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, totally.
So it's like some PSYOPs program or something to scare everyone.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's fucking propaganda. It's all just propaganda, period, right? Like, you know, this whole coronavirus thing has been, I think it's the biggest political scam in fucking history. And I don't think we'll never know the real truth, but I think it's a fucking scam.
Well, it's an absolute. People should. This should be an eye opener for people to not go hoard toilet paper and 3M masks and whatnot, but to be able to recognize or at least see the extent that these governors and these mayors and these county judges and things like that they'll go to, right? And without any data, without anything, right? You have to wear a mask. I saw a video the other day of an NYPD police officer beating the shit out of a guy beating him with his hands because he wasn't 6 feet away from somebody else.
I've seen that.
Like,
did you hear?
What the hell's wrong?
Did you hear about the security guard that yelled at some lady in like a dollar store, Dollar General, yelled at her? Yeah, she told her husband, came back and fucking killed him, man.
And killed the guy in Flint, Michigan. There was a Texas park ranger on Lake LBJ. There was a video of it. There were some young, you know, kids, and he's standing there in uniform. He wasn't armed. It's not an armed, you know, it's not an LE position, but not that from what I could see. But he's on the video. But he's in his uniform and he's sitting there just talking to him. And one of the young males, he's just telling him, hey, you know, it's not yelling at him, just space out. Dude pushes him in the lake off the dock, and the dude tumbled in with him, and then kind of swims away and takes off running. And they got him. And they're going to charge him. He's going to go to jail, which is awesome. But there's no need for that, you know. I get it. People want to go back to work, whatever. But if you're a cop, you can't beat somebody's ass with your bare fists because they won't stand 6 feet from somebody else. That is completely uncalled for.
Well, I think there's more to that, though, right? I think
there could be.
I know. I think it's, look, all right, you're a cop, right? Did you see the video where, like, the cops came to this lady about setting up play dates for her daughter? Like, I don't know how old the kid was, but, you know, if you're setting up play dates for little kids, right? Like, so these two officers, male and female, come to this house, and they're like, ma'am, are you setting up play dates against, for your child? Like, you know, think about that as a concept. Two officers come into your house, and she's filming it, and, like, she asked some smart questions, right? But, you know, one of the male officer was like, ma'am, you haven't heard the federal government's guidelines? And it's like, my issue right there is you have nothing to do with the federal government. You are a local police, right? And as long as we follow social distancing or whatever, why does it matter? Yeah. Why does it matter? Is this a real crime?
Breaking?
Yeah. And I think once this is over and people go back to normal, if this was a court case, it went to fucking court, it'd get thrown out.
Or she could countersue the shit out of them and win,
right? Yeah.
Right? Because
that's why the police and the DA would drop it. But my point with this is, okay, this is over the fucking flu, right? That's all the coronavirus is a fucking flu. You can say whatever, do whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, don't listen to the fucking news. I'm telling you, it's the flu, and the numbers are going to be the same as fucking a pneumonia season in the United States. But whatever, right? But here's my concern about all of it. Everyone talks about the Second Amendment. No one will ever take your guns. But the truth is how many officers are out there right now trying to enforce the no play dates for your kids, right? Or you get your ass beat because you were 6 feet from somebody, right? And the cop is like, hey man, I'm just following the law. I'm just doing my job, right? But the truth is like, are they going to say those same things when it's time to come get your guns, right? So I think in law enforcement, I think there's a difference between right and wrong, not because the law says so, right? Local police need to know the difference between right and wrong and do what's right for their communities. And I don't think, right, and everyone's like, oh, no one's ever going to come for your guns. No, I think the excuse is going to be, I'm just doing my job.
Right. Well,
but that same excuse is what, led to the Holocaust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look at the guys that when you had that guy on your podcast a few podcasts ago, it was like two podcasts, right? And he was like a military historian guy, right? He was talking about his grandfather.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was super interesting. So late at night here, they've had just all these shows on World War II, and I'm fascinated with it, and I always have been. But I've been watching those things religiously and learned a lot of new things. But after the war, when they caught all these Germans, right, and they tried them at the Nuremberg trials, what they all say, I was just doing what I was told to do.
Right.
I was ordered to do that, so that's why I did it. And
right.
Some of them got away, but the big fish didn't. And, some of them, made it to South America, and the Israelis either snatched them up or they died of old age. But, but here's the thing. I don't care if you're the county reserve sheriff or who the hell you are. You cannot say, like, ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? So if you go up to somebody and you're the game warden, you go, hey, you can't shoot a turkey in the head with a Glock. They go, well, I didn't know that. And then what are they going to tell you? Well, ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? And then I didn't know this redfish couldn't be this long. That's on you. The onus is on you to know the law. Well, it goes the other way too, right? So when if you're going to beat somebody's ass and you have a badge on and a gun and you're representing the county, the city, the whatever, you also have to know the law, and you have to apply the right amount of force to, that the situation dictates. And yeah, I only saw a cell phone video. I don't know what happened before. But I don't know, man. I mean, looked like a pretty big old boy, that cop. And he was just wailing away on the guy, and the guy's just laying on the ground. So, I don't know. But as any law enforcement officer, right? Hey, we're just enforcing the law. My next question is, cite the law for me. Where does it say that? Because is it the First Amendment? It's the right to peaceful assembly. Well, the county judge can't take that away.
No.
Right? But they can if we let them. So that's the other scary thing to me. I don't know how you feel about it, but and that people just voluntarily giving up their civil liberties. Because guess what? You don't ever get stuff back once you take it away.
No, for sure. And that was my point. Was the male officer was like, "Ma'am, don't you know what the federal government is saying?" And then that's why I was like, "Whoa, this is really bad here," because that local police or local sheriff, well, you in no way, shape, or form work for the federal government. So, if this guy's spouting off, man, you don't know what the federal government is doing. It's like, well, first off, you don't work for the federal government, which tells me you don't know why you're here.
No.
If that's your answer, you don't truly know why you're here, right? And that's what bothers me, right? So, you need to be able to state the law. And they didn't state, a lot of these states, the social distancing, the wear a mask, like, is it a law or is it just a guideline put out to keep the populace healthy You know what I mean? Like, what is it?
It's to keep the fear. It's
right.
It's to keep the fear factor up, right? Because, here in the state of Texas, our governor, he's awesome. So every major city in Texas has a liberal Democrat leaders, right? Every one of them. Although Texas is a huge red state, every one of those cities, you got to wear a mask, you got to stay home, we're going to fine the shit out of you, you can't do this, you can't do that. And the governor came out and said, this was last week, by executive order, you don't have to wear a mask, and you will not be fined, you will not be imprisoned, nothing, right? And what I say supersedes everybody else, because people were calling and complaining to the governor's office because these county judges, they're not judges. I don't know what you guys have in North Carolina, but they're not judges. They're county mayors, really. And they don't have like a Juris Doctorate degree. They're not lawyers. They're not judges. They're going crazy. They've got this little bit of power now, and they're controlling what Harris County. I think it's the largest county in the United States. It is in Texas. I think they got 8, 9, 10 million people. One person is going to tell 8, 9, 10 million people what they can and can't do. What kind of government do we have?
Yeah. So, well, why are you that involved in my life? Why are you so involved in my life that you're coming to my house over my child's play date?
Yeah. Who qualified you? What qualifies you to be able to tell me what to do? You're an elected official. It's the thing that worries me the most is not just the economy and all this bullshit, but that people's rights are being infringed upon, and that's everything to our society. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. That's why they're in a particular order, right? One's there because that's the most important, right? Then there's two, and so on. And I hate to see that. It's very disturbing to see that these municipalities and some of these governors and stuff are just shitting all over everybody for no reason whatsoever. Because the truth is, they don't know. They don't know if these damn masks work. There are no masks, right? So people are wearing bandanas or some shit they made at home. Well,
dude, think about
that doesn't
this.
work.
You wear a bandana over your face, and you wear that every day. You know what I mean? I mean, think about this: is you see those doctors out of California. These doctors, they put out a video. It's like 50 minutes long. They're like, hey, check this out. Coronavirus lives on plastic for up to 3 days. You go to a fucking Taco Bell or Del Taco, right? They wrap your taco. That's a plastic wrapper, right? You think you're fucking safe wearing a mask and gloves? If you wear the same gloves every day, you think you're fucking clean? You wear the same mask every day, you think you're fucking safe?
Nope.
No, fuck no. It's fucking sheeple shit, right? If you're gonna wear a mask, every time you touch it and take it off, you should throw it away and then put on a fucking sterile one. So you would have to keep sterile ones on you. You can't just tie a T-shirt around your fucking face and expect the coronavirus is never gonna get on it. And the next thing is like, guys are like, well, I've talked to guys, and I have buddies that do this. It kind of drives me crazy, but they're like, oh, well, the mask is so I don't spread germs as far. Okay, I can understand that, right? Fucking logical. Your choice. But if coronavirus was actually on the mask and you wear it every day, you're still just spreading coronavirus. You know what I mean? So the truth is like, man, it's just a fucking flu. Most people are asymptomatic. And I also think, you're on the membership site, some of the members we have are air marshals, and they had respiratory infections, right, in December, early January. All of them, they were all sick. They all had a respiratory infection, and they were told there's a respiratory infection and not the flu before anyone knows what the fucking coronavirus even was. January 24th is when Congress voted on the stimulus package before coronavirus was even here. So obviously people knew it was fucking beforehand. I'm saying that to say this is I already had it. My wife already had it. She was sick as fuck for like 3 days, right? Never been sick like that before in her life. How did we get it? We were on a cruise beginning mid-January with fucking Chinese tourists.
Yeah.
We already had it. So I think what would happen is if they start testing for antibodies, widespread antibody testing, right, what they're going to see is your percentages are going to go down because more people already had it. They're starting to find out people have antibodies to it now. And they're starting to find the earliest cases that they saw it, or the news said, we're all going to die. This is the earliest case. They're starting to do tissue samples off of cadavers that died, before them, that died with it.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. So my doctor, I talked to my doctor. He's super great guy, super smart guy. I've been going to him forever. And he told me that they got an email like the day before, these 3 doctors on this practice, and about the antibody tests. And he said that it's total horseshit because prior to this, there were 7 known types of coronaviruses, and this is number 8. And that the test only tells you that you have antibodies for one of them, not which one. And he said, we're not going to buy them. We're not going to administer these tests because I can't in good faith tell you that you're free and clear when we don't know that you are. So he said, all this stuff they're talking about in the news about these antibody tests, he said, don't rely on that because what they're not telling you that they know is that it doesn't tell you which one it was, which I think that's
okay.
That's
you
pretty
get
fucking
the flu.
shady.
You get the flu. You know what flu it is? You get a flu shot. You know what flu that is? No, you just know it's the flu.
Right.
And as human beings, what protects us a lot of times is herd immunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, every time one of these guys is like, oh, the antibody test is bullshit. Well, then the flu test is bullshit also. And if the flu test is bullshit, why are we doing anything about the coronavirus?
Well, have you seen, that, the flu vaccine's like 50% effective. And I know you've seen this before where everybody go get their shots, right? Because they're predicting on what's coming. And then these models, and then they mix up some serum, right? Everybody gets their shot. And then 2 months later, they're like, oh shit, it's the wrong strain. Come get the next shot, right? And and I'm not shitting on them. Hey, they're doing the best they can. Hey, thank God we don't live in the Congo or some shit. Where we have the best medicine in the world, and I'm not shitting on their efforts or the science or anything. It's truly amazing. But the point is that there's nothing you can do because we have a flu vaccine, and 2 years ago, 62,000 Americans died from the flu.
Right.
So the efficacy of it is now, but for that, right, maybe twice that many would have died. But the point is that there's no magic pill to keep you from getting this or to save your life because the regular avian flu this year, at least 30,000 people are going to die from that because that's the average.
100,000 people die a year or per season of pneumonia.
Right. So they're like, well, we got to kill the economy and completely wipe out the petroleum industry, which nobody's talking about. Oil's not even worth. Last week it wasn't even worth a penny. It was negative $37 a barrel. So yeah, and you know how many? That's the lifeblood of our economy. So some nations it's wheat or grain or farming or whatever. Ours is petroleum, and both of my neighbors are laid off, and they have been laid off. Another friend of mine works for a major oil company, and all their wells are shut in. They're completely closed, right? They shut the valves. They're not. And here's the thing: people don't understand. If you drill a well off the coast of Texas in 200 miles out, right, 5,000 feet of water, and it costs you $2 billion to do that, you can't just turn it off like a water faucet, right? And then when you close it in, if the formation collapses, you're out $2 billion. You're shit out of luck, right? So there's a lot of jobs, man, they're being hugely impacted by this, and the petroleum industry is a driving force behind everything we do. We talked about earlier, you're not traveling. You're not buying fuel. We're not flying. we're not doing all these things, and we need to be, though, right? Okay, so, not to change subjects, but you talked about the cruise. So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
I saw a video this morning. There are people parked off Miami and these fucking cruise ships, and they won't let them off. Yeah. They're just stuck there, right?
Yeah.
What would you do? I thought about you. What would you do if they said you're not getting off here, you're not going anywhere? What would you do?
Man, how far offshore are they?
About 15 miles. They got lifeboats, right?
I think you're fucked. Like, first and foremost, you should have made a better decision before now, would be kind of my opinion. But there's kind of nothing you could do, man. You could try to jump ship, but then you're going to swim 15 miles. Could you swim 15 miles? Sure.
No,
you know what I mean?
That'd be tough, but here's the thing. Like, I don't know, man. I think I'd go commandeer a lifeboat, or I would call somebody, some fishing charter guy, to come out there and get me. I don't know. I think I'd try to find a way off that damn thing, man. I don't. Not that I'm. I wouldn't go nuts sitting out there. I was there feeding them and stuff, but.
The problem with the boats, right, like this is, every surface on that boat is metal. And metal holds that shit for longer than anyone else. And then look, you see it all the time, like the cruise is canceled or they come back to port because like everyone was sick, or you know what I mean? So
right, they got hysteria or something, yeah.
Yeah, so, I look at it this way. If you took a cruise after a lockdown because it was cheap, and then you got to be on the boat for an extra 2 weeks in quarantine, like, enjoy your time, my man. I'll be down at the bar every day. Like, you're not letting me off the boat? I got free drinks.
Yeah, you're going to pay for this. Yeah, that's a good point. But it's how can they hold them like that? That's the thing I don't get. It's not like they have Ebola, right?
Exactly. And Ebola,
they have homes and families, and they picked a bad time to travel, for sure.
I would say this is, I think overall, I think this is all a hoax. I think this is political fuckery of one type or another, and look, we're starting to see, fucking Dr. Fauci gave Wuhan Laboratories $3.7 million last year. That guy's deep state as they get, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And,
yep.
The Democrat, the Harvard guy was a Democrat who got paid $1.7 million to stand up the Wuhan facility. You know what I mean? Again, what are the chances that Harvard professor was not a Democrat?
Zero.
He was. Yeah, zero.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat, right? So, all this Wuhan shit got Democratic fingerprints all over it. And then, okay, so my next leap is the only thing Trump has been crushing is the economy. You guys been crushing the economy. It's fucking humming right along. What's the only move they have on him to hopefully not get him reelected? And at the same time, you could tell China, like, hey, those tariffs you lost, you helped get Trump out, we'll go back to the deal we used to have. China, that's billions, if not $1 trillion fucking dollars in incentive to let this go.
You can see, I don't disagree with you, you can see that they are trying to stretch this out as long as they can.
Totally. And you'll see, look, and this is a red state, blue state thing, is look at the blue states. The quarantine's going on until the end of June, and like North Carolina, Friday, we're back to normal. Fuck it, we're done. Like, like, no one cares.
Did they open everything back up?
They opened Charlotte up already, and then Friday, everything opens around here.
Everything.
Back to normal.
So not here, right? So we got 25% capacity, restaurants, movie theaters, stuff like that. They haven't opened barbershops, gyms, workout facilities, stuff like that. I saw this morning that Gold's Gym filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah, of course.
But they have to, right? I mean,
have to.
What are they going to do? And there's a lot of businesses that whether we use them or not, that aren't ever going to be again. They're not ever going to come back. Because what are they going to do in the fall when this comes back? Because it's like you said, it's the flu, right? So,
dude, these politicians, it's going to come back. These politicians are so fucking addicted to this power and control. We're going to see more quarantines, more lockdowns, more over bullshit, over fucking bullshit.
So here's $1 million question: when are you doing classes?
August. Let's see, July, June. I'm in Salt Lake City. So I'm not doing anything till June, really. June, July, August, September. Or June, July, August, and October.
And we talked about this a while back, but at some point it may be your only option to, obviously you're doing online, but to go to private facilities, right? I think your 2 stops in Texas are privately owned, right?
Yeah.
Ones you normally go to, so there's no issues there. But if you're going to, look at the other place you went here, right, before our rifle class, and those other guys that booked it, right, they didn't show up. So and that was early on.
That was way early on. Yeah.
They didn't show up, right? So I don't think that, I haven't been by there, but I don't think that place is open.
My classes actually follow social distancing, right? They're all small classes. There's less than 10 people, right? But the truth is you could say you're following social distancing, but that kind of doesn't mean anything.
Nope. Well, it's and there's a lot of people that want to get out, that want to go do anything. There's a lot of people stuck at home, and they go take a class. I'd go take a class in a heartbeat. If you said you're going to be here next week, I'd be there. Not only for the benefit of taking the class, but just to get out and do something. Do something different. So it's a weird thing. I was laughing to myself thinking this morning, right? You're always saying on your podcast, like, the world is a really strange fucking place. And I'm starting to wonder, like, if you saying that is making it be that.
Dude, I don't know. Like, maybe my words are that powerful, but I'm going to tell you this. This is our new norm. Like, how do you like this?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It is. This is the strangest thing. It's, and me and your other buddy that lives over here, we say all the time, we quote you, it just goes to show how eggshell thin our society is, and it really is. I mean, that was spot on.
It's true. Everywhere I've ever gone, man, we've seen that. Like, one small thing could set stuff back to chaos. And I'm telling you, I think we're close to, you make people stay in any longer, right? I think the next phase of this lockdown shit is going to be lawlessness, because no one's going to give a fuck what the law has to say.
Well, and I agree, right? So when the people that work and pay taxes have had enough, and they've had enough, they're just going to go open their stores.
Yeah.
And if they did it all at one time, what's anybody going to do about it? Nothing. And then it completely nullifies at that point. It nullifies all these draconian, stupid-ass rules that they're putting on everybody. Because if you're an independent business owner, right? I mean, but imagine if you had a storefront and that was your livelihood and it was closed. And that was your sole source of income. What would you do?
Oh, yeah.
I'd go open it,
man. I'd go open it.
Yeah, because there's a woman in Dallas who opened her nail and hair salon thing, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to lose my house." And they said, "Well, we're going to fine you, and we're going to take your license to operate in the state of Texas." She said, "If I don't show up here every day, I'm not going to have a license, so it doesn't matter."
Right.
She's a single mom. She has to feed her kids. She has to pay her mortgage, electricity. Life has to go on, and this is weird. This has really morphed into a couple of cases of the flu to I don't even know how to describe where we are today.
We're
odd.
living in some type of draconian, totalitarian facade right now. You know what I mean? But I think the dangerous thing is, what's this showing the politicians in the future? Look at all the double standard shit that's happening. You know what I mean? Like the biggest people that are going, you can't go outside, you can't do this. Like, what was that? The one guy like closed everything off from I think it was New York City, and then like his wife goes on vacation to Florida, and then he's
a guy in Michigan,
yeah, you can't talk about my family like that. Like, so did she go or not? I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, his wife was caught at like some big drunken party, when he's telling everybody else then there's others that are out, you see the governor, the mayor, whoever, and she kind of looks like shit, and the next one, she got her hair done, obviously, she got it cut and highlighted and curled, whatever, and people are like, well, hey, what the fuck, man? Like, yeah, I know that just didn't happen on your own.
De Blasio closed all the New York City parks and then gets busted walking in the park with his wife. It was closed, and no one else could go there.
Right, but it's the, good enough for thee, but not for me. Don't do as I say, not as I do.
I think everything in the modern world, everything evolves at all times. Does that make sense? And it's like there's no more TV repairman because you just go buy a new TV, right? So no one repairs TVs anymore. Look at all the stuff that has came and gone. Do you honestly think our style and way of government is successful for the fucking people?
Nope.
I think the Constitution is timeless, but I think the way we go about it and the politicians and this political elite class and they're fucking, getting over on the public and they don't speak for the public. They do whatever the fuck they want. Nancy Pelosi ain't speaking for her fucking people when, she's fucking playing games with Trump. You know what I mean? So
it's not a representative government anymore.
No, not at all.
And that's the problem, right? So they need to go back to where they need to go back to it needs to they'll only do what we need them to do if we hold them accountable. But the problem is that people are so comfortable as long as they got their Starbucks and their Facebook and their new iPhone or whatever, they don't give a shit. And they're oblivious as to what's going on, and they don't pay attention. Here's another thing, and these are the types of things that I am hyper aware of, this new contact tracing, right, where Apple and Google, their phones will talk to each other now, and then if you get the virus, your phone is tagged with, or it's associated to you, that if anybody else gets around you, you'll get an alert that, you came in contact with somebody, right? So that should never be allowed. And the only way to get that is through consent or a warrant, right? And Apple and Google can't get a warrant for shit, right? So I guess it's they're, but when they say it's for the good, it's the good of humanity, of the world, of the United States, whatever, that's their fucking excuse to start tracking everybody and where you are. And I think it's complete bullshit. And that's just one of the things that, I don't know if people are paying attention to these kind of things, but it's in effect, right? It's already on. And everybody that has a phone, if your phone's on, it's doing it. And the shitty thing is that they'll never turn that off.
No.
Right? When this goes away or people wake up and realize that this is all stupid and, they completely fucked our economy for nothing. Do you think they're going to turn that shit off? No way.
They're not going to turn it off. They're going to look at it and be like, oh, man, how could we do this better?
How can we sell this for more? Because it's all that advertising shit, right? And I will tell your podcast listeners this. When you go out, get out of your truck, you leave the house, whatever, turn your damn Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth off on your phone. That's the only way you can combat these sorts of things, if you care about your privacy at all. Yeah, are we doing anything that we need to be worried about where we are? No, but it's just the fact that we shouldn't voluntarily give up that information.
Right.
At least in my,
another thing I would tell people is if you have the Facebook app on your phone, and I know we've talked about this before, but you have the Facebook app on your phone, go in your settings and don't allow Facebook to use Bluetooth. Well, if you're looking at Facebook on your phone, you're not Bluetoothing it to another speaker to hear it somewhere else, or don't allow them to use Bluetooth. And that kills a lot of that stuff as well.
So I'll go one further. Don't have the app on your phone, period. Yeah. Log in through your web browser on your phone. Why? Because it records every word you say. As long as you have that app on there, it records every word you say. I've seen it happen in person. It does it, and no one can say any different. And so I made my wife delete it off her phone because she's the one that noticed it. And yeah, the Amazon Alexa, the Google Dot, any of those things, Facebook app on your phone, take that off there. Unless you like, everything you say being recorded, because it is. Some people won't care, right? They're oblivious to it, but I'm not down with that, I just don't.
Hey, look,
if I want to know what I'm saying, I'll call them and tell them.
We're trading, right? We're trading freedom for security, but the truth is that when that happens, you ain't got either.
No, you don't. You're right. And it's, like I said, a lot of things they're implementing now, look what they did. Perfect example. They shut down the whole country. You got to wear masks.
They shut down the world. Look, you shut down our country, you're shutting the world down.
You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. There's no oil. Now they're talking about all these meat processing workers, right? Tyson Foods, and they were going to shut down all the plants. And the president told them under the Defense Protection Act, thou shalt not do that, right? You have to keep them open. Just like they told Ford Motor Company in World War II, you're going to build B-17 bombers or whatever it was. For the good of the Republic, you're going to do this, right? And so Tyson Foods, they thought they were going to shut down, but they're not. And I had somebody say the other day, like, oh man, maybe I ought to go buy some more meat. You never know. And I told him, I said, first of all, where the hell am I going to get a freezer from? A deep freezer. I don't know if you've been to Home Depot lately, but there aren't any, right? Everybody's bought them all up. Number two, there's 3 million feral hogs in the state I live in. I got my live straws, thanks to you. That was a good thing you talked about. I went and got some. And there's like 100 cows in the field behind my house. I'm not going to starve to death. Period.
Yeah, totally. Right.
Now, if you're completely dependent on the grocery store, you might have problems. And that's not my problem. But, yeah, it's weird, man. It's just, and you talked about fear, how contagious it is, right? And you're right. It truly is. It's more contagious than this damn virus is. And panic.
Man. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, it is.
When people are beating the shit out of each other for toilet paper in Target, what does that tell you?
Well, I'll tell you, this is the whole vibe. Like yesterday, I've been staying home because I'm always somewhere else. I'm enjoying staying home. As a matter of fact, I started a brisket last night at 8 o'clock at night, and then I'm going to finish it by early dinner. But I was out yesterday. I don't like the vibe of the public these days. Like people running to get in front of someone else and like just the vibe I got out yesterday of all the fucking sheep wearing their masks and cutting people's off. And like, I think the fucking, just the vibe in general that's going on outside is just, it's that fear and panic based shit. And it's like, turn off the fucking news and go live your life, and you'll be just fine. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I wish everybody would listen to that because there's no need for any of this. I mean, the guys that listen to your podcast, we talked about earlier, right? Same kind of guys that come to your classes. You end up with the guys that you're supposed to have, and you don't have the guys you're not supposed to, right? So just based on the content, who you are, and what you teach, and so. anybody that listens to this podcast or is a member of the site or goes to the classes, they all get it, right? None of those guys are going out, freaking out, buying everything up, right? The problem it causes for us, though, is the shitheads that are doing that. When I go to the grocery store once a week to get just what I need, and I can't fucking find it because some asshole. I went to the grocery store last week. Perfect example. There was a lady. I don't know why she was doing this. She got 30 big tubs of instant grits. She was standing on the metal shelving, the bottom one, to reach up there to get the ones in the back. And she was filling her cart with them. And I just thought it was the oddest thing. I was like, why the hell are you buying all those grits? Like, is there going to be a run on grits? Like, you know, you see these weird behaviors, you know, people are doing shit they don't normally do. And it's all been, you know, it's been spread by the media and we're all going to fucking die. But we're not going to die, you know, and we're not going to starve to death. And we can't shut the world down until they get a vaccine that, oh, by the way, we already have vaccines for the flu. And it's only 50%. I mean, we still have people die every year from that. So obviously this vaccine isn't going to be any more effective than that one. If we got to wait around for that, bullshit. There's no way, you know. It's odd, man. This is such an odd time. I mean, you say it all the time, but it's even worse now. I mean, it is really weird.
Maybe I need to start going the opposite way. Like, the world is such a really good place, and maybe it'll start to get better.
You know what? It wouldn't hurt if you tried. So
all right. When we close this out, I'm going to say that, and it'll be our little experiment. Yeah.
So I have a question. So I watched your video on your AK pistol. You were talking about how loud it is, right? And then even with a suppressor on it, it's even louder. Is it too loud to enjoy shooting in that configuration?
Oh, no, not at all. When I say loud is I created it for my night kind of, you know, feral animal, vehicle hunting kind of stuff, right? Depredation, permit, stuff like that. When I say it's loud, it was just too loud to be, you know, shooting out of a vehicle at night at you know, miscellaneous, you know, hogs or critters, you know, coyotes, making my rounds. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's, I'll tell you, it suppresses nice, but, you know, a longer barrel does make it is just a little bit quieter, make it more bearable. So if you were looking for just a fun gun to shoot on the range, like, that thing suppressed is money. You know what I mean? But if you were hunting, trying to stay quiet, you know, because one of the things is, like, you run into 20, 30 animals, and you need to get them all. You hope to get them all, but you know you're not going to get them all, right? That first really loud boom, though, scatters so quick. Right, that, you know, you only got one. Well, if the gun's a little bit quieter, maybe you could get 5, you know what I mean, before they're really alarmed. And so that's kind of what I meant when I said that thing was loud.
You just went with like a 16-inch barrel version?
I use a 12-inch gun for the same thing. Okay. So, you know, 4 more inches of barrel. But I would say this is, I think I'm going to build a 14.5, only because I'm hoping, you know, maybe that extra 2 inches of barrel is quieter to where instead of getting 5 critters, maybe I could get 8 to 10.
Right. Yeah, I had a friend of mine was gonna get one of those, and I watched your video and I called him and I was like, "Hey man, you may want to hold off." He said that, you know, like, it's too loud, and he's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right," you know. So I'll call him back and I'll let him know.
Is he doing it for hog hunting or just
no,
for fun? Just to have it. Oh yeah, dude. Hey, just to have. Those things are so well balanced. You know what I mean? I put that Geisley kind of military handguard on it. It's so well balanced. It feels so good. It is truly like, you know, if I didn't worry, you know, I built it for a hunting gun, a night hunting gun, which kind of disappointed me. But, you know, if you were looking to just use it as a range gun, like, it feels good. It's not that heavy, easy to control. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bonuses to that thing, except for the night hunting stuff, to where my first time at night with my night vision, it was like, whoom! I was kind of like, oh, shit, what was that, right?
Yeah, no more hogs, right? That was interesting looking at that. I thought about getting one in a similar to that, but not the pistol, more of a, you know, maybe even a 16-inch barrel type, because I don't really need the pistol, you know.
Yeah.
I've already got an AR, so I kind of like to buy something different, you know, something I don't have.
That's why I do the 14.5. I have them welded and pinned, because the guy that knows how to work on them will take the weld and pin off if it needs to get fixed or something. You know what I mean? Like, people act like welding and pinning is like the worst thing ever, but the truth is, it's so minute, like, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. So I always do the 14.5. You know, normally I'm putting some type of brake on it that holds a suppressor, right? And I just have it welded, so that'll take me to 16. So, and then the reason I like that is, generally speaking, a stock is lighter than a pistol brace. So you could have a 14.5-inch gun that weighs the same amount as a 10-inch pistol because the brace is so heavy. The barrel is lighter because it's shorter, if it's the same barrel, right? All things being equal, the barrel would be lighter, but the stock, the brace itself will be heavier, which it'll make a 10-inch gun the same weight as a 14.5. However, the 14.5 being a little bit longer seems lighter and easier to wield and hold than the 10-inch gun. Right.
Yeah, I shot that one that one of the guys in Bastrop had, and he won it, right? That 9mm gun, and it's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, it was a little short. Like, I don't know, maybe just because I'd have to get used to it. I kind of like I'm kind of a fan of just a little bit longer, you know.
Yeah.
A little more to get your hands on.
That was an 8-inch barrel and it had the Glock mag thing for any lower, right? That was an 8-inch barrel, and that was the video you were talking about. That's how long that barrel was, 8 inches.
Okay. Yeah, I bet that is loud as hell.
And look, I've always told guys the shorter the better, but, you know, we used to live in a world where 10 inches was considered the short barrel gun. I should probably stop saying that, because we live in a world now where guys are like, hey, I built this 4-inch gun. Like, it's the barrel's shorter than your hand and the handguard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I used to tell guys the shorter the better, which is trying to get guys to shoot 10-inch barrel guns. You know, but now that barrels go 4 inches, 6, 7s are common, 8s, like, maybe I should say, hey, 10-inch, 10 to 14, somewhere in there, instead of the shorter the better.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like it relates to like a lot of these like Glock 43s or these smaller pistols. I just feel more comfortable with, like, the odds. That's why I shoot a 17, because I can get more of my hands on it, and I can apply, you know, more of what I learned from you. I'm a smaller gun. I just don't feel like I can, you know what I mean? I can't get all my hands on it. That's the same thing for a rifle, right? I'd rather have it a little bit more stretched out. I just feel like I can control it more.
I think so too, and it's the teeter-totter effect, right? Like,
yeah.
If you're holding the center of something, which is like holding a submachine gun, it's really hard to hold. But if you held both ends of the teeter-totter, would it give as much? And the answer is no, right? So longer gun gives you more leverage to hold it steady. That's a simple kind of mechanics, body mechanics, you know. So
yeah. That's
why, you know, I have a few 8 and 7-inch guns, but the truth is like, I'm generally carrying 10 to 14.5-inch guns.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance there. Did you get a Glock 48 yet?
I have not. I am, but I haven't.
I'm going to get one. Yeah, I'm going to get one. I haven't got one yet. So I have a question. This is an oddball question. Did you ever use a pistol in combat?
Did I ever have it in my hand in combat, like take it out of the holster?
Yeah, like use it.
Every night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because think about this. You know, you're rolling up on a target, right? Let's just say you get out of the helicopters and, you know, we're going to walk tonight. Well, you know, we're probably going to bring some ladders in case we need to go to a roof or something. We're probably going to bring some special equipment, right? So, you know, and then the ladders we would make is like I would always, you know, we could have any ladders we want. I would have our engineers make me savage wooden ladders, right? They last one time. We leave it. Who gives a fuck? It's as light as the fucking aluminum Gucci shit. And then, like, we could go through 10 in the night and no one gives a fuck.
Right.
You know, so, you know, you might have to carry a ladder. Well, the truth is like, okay, so if me and another guy are carrying this ladder, which isn't heavy and it's not hard to carry, right? Well, that's one hand. Well, I need two hands to shoot a rifle well. So what would I do? I'd get my pistol out and keep it in my other hand the whole time, right? Because if something happens, at least I have something to defend myself with. You know, I'm not in the position to be taking those 100-yard headshots because I'm actually carrying some special equipment or another guy. Or so nightly, I bet I drew my pistol, dozens of times, maybe even more. You know what I mean? There's also times where I draw and I'd be like, dang, I'd switch hands because I had to do something else with my other hand. So anytime I had to do something, help a guy walk, carry a guy, carry something, help wounded, right, it was always pistol in my hand.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought of that, but I know, you know, because most patrol guys, right, in the U.S., they're totally different thing, but their primary weapon is their pistol. And for most law enforcement, right, and for most military guys, it's some form of a long gun.
Right.
And I know you guys, you shot everything a lot, right, and you mastered it all, but that's something I always wondered was, how many times did you have to use your pistol, right?
Nightly, like, so did I ever shoot anyone with a pistol? No, right? But how many times did I draw a pistol to defend myself at night? Like, more than I could even tell you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'd also say this is, like, another reason why I never had to shoot my pistol is because, essentially, I'm a rifleman, and I do good maintenance. I keep my rifle running. Like, why would I ever need a pistol? You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, the pistol is handy in other ways. Climbing ladders, and you think someone might be on the roof, right? You could climb a ladder with a pistol in your hand. You can't climb a ladder holding a rifle aimed up. Well, I guess you could, but, you know, you're not going to be effective or do anything well. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's just certain situations where, you know, in this, you know, situation within a mission or a bigger situation, there's times where transitioning to that pistol might be the smarter play than trying to keep both hands on the rifle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. You know, a lot of people don't. I know a lot of guys. I got a buddy of mine. He's in the Guard, and you know, we first hired him. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a pistol, but he was really good with a rifle. And he said, man, we just don't shoot pistols. You know, we got them, but we don't really shoot them. You know, and it makes sense, right? Why would you shoot at somebody with a pistol when you've got a belt set or a long gun?
Yeah, totally, right. Completely agree.
But you did something totally different. So I just always wanted to know that, right? How did you guys ever have to? But it makes sense what you said because you got to have something, right? Can't be picking your nose and carrying a ladder.
Totally.
Not being able to defend yourself.
Totally. Or a quickie saw, or helping someone walk, or you know what I mean? Like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So nightly as many times as possible. All right, man. Well, hey, let's wrap this up. To all the guys listening, thanks for listening. I'm John Shrek McPhee, the Sheriff of Baghdad. This is Calls from the Road. I'll give you the last word. What do you want to say to everybody?
the world is going to be a better place tomorrow.
Well played. The world is a good place, and the world will be better tomorrow. Well, let's see where this goes. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for the call. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.